Hello, Abnormal Family. I have a couple of more stories I'd like to share with you. I think they're pretty scary, if you ask me. So, this happened to my son when he was 17 years old. We lived in New Mexico at the time. My son, Cody, was riding along with his friends, Drew and Alex. They were in Drew's truck and Drew was driving. It was night and they were heading to Drew's house. Drew lived out in the country, so the road they were on was isolated and surrounded by desert. In fact, that whole area is flat and mostly dirt. As they were driving along, they see a man standing in the middle of the road. Drew slows down, and they all expect the guy to move out of to move over to the side. The guy doesn't move. He just stands there. Drew slows to a stop. The guy is standing just outside the light from the headlights. He's wearing jeans and some sort of long-sleeve shirt. They couldn't make out the features of the guy's face, but they could tell he was facing them. Nobody moves for a few seconds. The kids start to talk about going around him, but aren't sure if they should pass by this guy or turn around and go another way. Suddenly, the guy drops to all fours and starts running toward the truck. All the kids start screaming. Drew slams the truck into reverse and floors it. Now they're going backwards on the dark country road, and this guy is chasing them on all fours. And he's keeping up with the truck. Drew goes faster, and finally the guy drops out of sight. Drew turns the truck around, and they all came back to our house. I was in the living room when they came in running, slammed and locked the door, and went tearing up the stairs. Cody's room. I went up to see what was going on, and this is when they told me the story. I've never seen them so pale and frightened. They were completely freaked out. I know what they seen scared them almost to death. This is another one, guys. It's called an 8-foot tall figure cornered me in the woods. I used to not believe that there was this unknown stuff in the woods. After this happened, I know there is something unknown out there. I had just bought my first rifle and bought a 60-round drum magazine. Reading up on the drum, I read they were amazing and rarely had any issues at all. This will be important later. A few days later, after I got it, I finally decided to take it out for a test drive. Kentucky is super wooded. 3/4 of the land I lived on was just as thick woods. There was a main path for driving the gator, and a few small paths our cows had made in the woods. I decided to walk along the creek that had a small path half cleared by our cows. At the end of the path is a big field our cows graze in. As soon as I crossed the fence to go to the field, I instantly felt like I was being watched closely. I brushed it off because I've walked back there thousands of times before and never been bothered or seen anything. The walk to the field along the creek is a very short walk, maybe 2 minutes at a slow pace. The further I walked, the more intense the feeling got, like I was getting closer to whatever was watching me. About halfway there, the feeling got so intense I couldn't ignore it anymore. The drum magazine I had with me was unloaded, so I stopped and started loading it. I only brought about 20 rounds with me because I was just going to go sight in my piece, and 20 should have been plenty. The fact is, the exact moment I started putting the rounds in the drum, I smelled something dead, like it had been dead for a while and rotting in the sun. I started looking around, and right behind me was what had left a possum. It was almost like it was placed there for me to find. The only thing was, it looked like it had been dead maybe a day at most, and what I was smelling seemed like it was far more decomposed. This obviously didn't sit well with me, so I double-timed the magazine loading. I guess I should have taken the possum as last chance turnaround. I was almost to the field when I saw it. It was at the end of the creek, and the feeling of being watched was unbearable. Just as I was near the end of the creek and the edge of the woods, I heard a splash in the water. Walking down the creek away from me was something I will never forget. At least 8 feet tall, probably taller, very skinny. Imagine a grown man that weighs 120 pounds. Now stretch him out to be 8 foot tall. But his body width says the same. Very long arms, and it walked on 2 legs. Skin stretched tightly across its body. It made no noise, aside from the splash, when it stepped into the creek. While it walked, I also had a very bad feeling, and it walked very weirdly, almost like a waddle, but taking large steps. But that could have been because it was on a muddy creek bank. It was also a light brown color, almost like the color of a deer. I pressed the bolt release to chamber around just in case the monstrous long decides to attack. I did not intend on striking first. The round gets stuck somehow and it doesn't even budge out of the magazine. I had never used this magazine before, so it didn't fail from heavy use. My only guess is that the thing had something to do with it, or the magazine just never worked right, because it never worked right again. I had to return it. The thing books it out of there without running or making a noise. I had just long enough exposure to it to get the details I provided above. This was the scariest and weirdest looking thing I've ever seen. I don't ever want to go back to the woods or walk down a creek again. These things could be right there and you'd never see them. They're so skinny they could look like a stick, a tree, or a sapling. But they could be right up on you in no time. There are things in the woods that I wish to never see again, and I will never venture there again, for these places are not safe. These things are in there. And when you cross the threshold from civilization into their world, they are waiting on you. Wow, guys, I thought that was a pretty intense encounter that they shared. I'm pretty sure the weapon he was carrying was a 22, it sounds like. And, a lot of people bash a 22, but statistically they kill more people in a year than any other caliber. I think they've killed grizzly bears with 22s with one shot. It's not a gun that I would pick to go if I was going to be out there, and run into something like that. But a lot of squirrel and rabbit hunters, that is the weapon of choice that they'll be carrying if they were to happen to have an encounter. Man, he must have been really scary. And also to know that your gun is jammed and it's not able to work if you're going to need it, that would also really be running through your mind, wouldn't it? And then the guy's getting chased by the thing, running on all fours, chasing you, but it's standing there in jeans and a long sleeve shirt. That almost sounds like a dog man to me, or something along those lines. Don't ever stop for a hitchhiker at night on a road, guys. I've had that happen. Sarah backed up, turned around, and we went the other way. But never stop, because you never know what they're up to, or if it's even a person. Until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you all for watching, and God bless.